Here's what you get with this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
Can you share why video is so critical to telling your story?
You can't get across emotion like you can on video with a print article. It just doesn't work. So I just think it always goes back to that engagement.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Sounds Irish. That's dumb. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
We're getting our mojo going now. I feel it. Let's go. Let's go quick.
Hey, Nice Guy community. Welcome back. Welcome back. It is, what is today? Today is Friday. My name is Strickland Bonner, Doug Sandler on the other side of the microphone.
It's not Friday, Strick. Might be. Is it?
Steve Heimerman. Yes, that's our interview today.
Oh, what happened? So we've celebrated the entire New Year's week. We've made all of our resolutions and everything is looking good. And it's already Friday, huh?
It's crazy. It's crazy. We're already the first week into the year.
I feel like I haven't gotten out of my pajamas from last Sunday. Wait a minute. What's today? Yeah. Friday.
Yes,
whatever.
We are recording this on New Year's Eve, of course.
Yeah. So it's the big reveal. It's the big 2017 reveal is coming up. The guy that the old guy is, old Father Time is moving out, and the new baby diaper guy is moving in, right?
That's a nice image. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that. Are we gonna get to like the promise statement and the other stuff quickly today?
Oh, yeah. Let's do the promise statement first, since I have that up in front of the 17 tabs I have open right now. So the promise statement here by the Nice Guys on Business podcast is to provide a learning experience that is entertaining and adds value to your life. 2017, we want to be the same. We want to do it. We want to make sure that we are actually accomplishing our promise, and that is to provide that learning experience that's entertaining for you and adds value.
If we're not, then do that. You know, did you do your Wednesday talk with Doug last Wednesday?
I did.
We didn't announce it last week.
I did.
On our show, I realize.
It's the Dialing for Doug Day is Wednesdays from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the first few weeks, we got off to a rather flat start. Moving into like week number 3, though, we had a bunch of callers. I think I said we had, 4 callers that called in?
Yeah, week 3, yeah.
But maybe we just need to remind people more and more, because last Wednesday, 0.
Well, because, we didn't say anything about it on the show, and I didn't realize that until now. So we will make sure that we're going to say something about it on this week's show, which I'm sure we did earlier in the week. I hope we got a lot of calls.
But for next week, same thing, Wednesdays, 5 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dialing for Doug Day, feel free to call 410-340-6861. That is my cell phone number. And because that is my only number and has been my only number for years, I get an abundance of telemarketing calls on that line. Do you get telemarketing calls?
I am getting crushed lately with telemarketing calls. But this is a Steve Heimerman intro. We ought to talk about telemarketing calls earlier in the week on one of our Tuesday or Thursday shows.
Okay, sure. Well, sure. Well, just shut me down, Strickland.
Well, I am trying to get to Steve Heimerman. I mean, we got to get to these things. Steve, it's video production and
all things video. Very, very cool.
Right, full service video production agency, but really it's video to be used for marketing. So if you're thinking to yourself, "Hey, I don't need videos," well, yeah, maybe you kind of do. I mean, they do animated videos and other cool stuff that's great for marketing too.
Well, think about it. Think about the next step. What is really the next step for marketing your services? It was for a very long time, and it still is, content marketing, content being blogs and the written word. But there's so much more that you can do with video. So I one of the questions I asked Steve, I think I did this on the video, was on the interview, was what is the next step? And would you have an idea of what you think after video, what you think the next step is in marketing?
Holograms? I have no idea.
No, interesting. Interesting you say that. Probably something close to that, but it is using virtual reality.
Interesting, right? Because you get all the VR glasses and the goggles and it's getting big.
Imagine marketing your services through virtual reality. So you're the potential user or purchaser of your products and services actually inserts themselves into the world of what you provide, and they can actually
think about our listeners now. Some of our biggest listeners are realtors. Could you imagine if you could send somebody a link and they could just virtually walk through a house?
Yeah. That sounds really cool. So, Steve, what we talk about on today's show is how to incorporate video into your marketing plan. And it doesn't have to be full production. Steve and I really spend a good amount of time, although Steve is a full-service video production company. Tilt Motion, is that the name of his company, Tilt Motion?
tiltmotion.com.
So although he is a full-service, full-production video company, he also talks about the ease in which you can do things like Facebook videos, Facebook Live, and what's the one that's on Twitter? That is
Periscope.
Periscope. Thanks. I lost that one for a second. And now with Snapchat and Instagram and all of the other ones doing their little stories, very cool also. So Steve and I really get into the whole idea of marketing your businesses with the use of video. He actually has a free video that he's providing us as well. Nice Guy Community, correct?
Yeah, go to tiltmotion.com/nice guys, and you can get his ebook, How to Win at Marketing with Video. So if you don't think you need video, like as part of your marketing, if you've never used it before, Steve and this book will help you show how you can really put it to good use.
I think what's interesting about video is many people, before they even take their first attempt at video, I think there's this fear that, well, I have to be scripted. I have to make sure it sounds all smooth and edited. There is definitely a place in marketing for doing a non-scripted, non-edited, just really raw video. So we talk about that on today's interview. So Steve Heimerman does a great job. Tilt Motion Video. Don't forget to sign up for the free ebook.
Yeah, you can go back to our 200th episode and see that. That was ridiculously unscripted.
That was actually a lot of fun. Are we going to do something fun? We'll talk about this. We talked about
Tuesday.
this.
We talked about this on Tuesday. I don't know what we decided, but we talked about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going to go back and listen to that. If you want to hear what we're going to do at episode 300, we got to do something fun. That's coming up in a month.
It's coming up quick. We'll think about it.
Okay. All right. So let's get to our interview. Steve, wait, hold a second. Have I been pronouncing this incorrectly? I was going to say, I thought I was pronouncing it incorrectly the entire time.
No, you got it. Steve Heimerman.
It kind of like Pratima Ahavabhumi.
Yeah. Oh man. That was a week ago now, and I can't remember.
You did a great job with that.
Aravabhumi, right?
I messed it up.
It's Aravabhumi.
Yeah, lots of great interviews and lots more great stuff coming up. But today, Steve Heimerman, let's get to his interview. Nice Guys on Business podcast right here. We are all about video today and how this simple channel is turning the marketing world pretty much upside down. I mean, I think it's great. Expert in marketing, telling his story, telling a story, and branding is Steve Heimerman from Tilt Motion's expertise, the founder of All Things Good. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast, Steve Heimerman.
Well, thanks for having me, Doug.
It is completely my pleasure, and I am glad that we had a chance to have you on the show, because I know that that video really seems to be like the current. I was going to say it's the future frontier, but it really is what's going on currently right now. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, it's really taking off. It's always been around, but I really think that it's only going to just blow up. I mean, it's really. The online presence is just crazy with social and everything. It's just going to really take off over the next few years.
So I guess that lends the question then, did social media create video, or did video make social media? Like YouTube has been around for a really long time. I mean, relatively speaking, regarding the internet, it's been around for a really long time. And I've seen that as a huge frontier for a long time, as many of us have. But did social media really just start picking up the ball and running, or did the video content create what is known as this huge social media splash today?
I think it's the chicken and the egg debate, right?
Yeah,
it's really interesting. I think the platforms are great. It's just a great way to hit more of an audience. But really at the root of it all, and this has been going on forever, is storytelling. No one is going to watch a video unless it's engaging. So at the end of the day, there's always a new platform. There's always a new way of getting it. It's YouTube a few years ago, and now it's social media, whatever platform is next in the next 10 years. But at the end of the day, if you don't have really solid storytelling, it's a moot point.
Well, and what do you think about and maybe you have an opinion, or maybe you'll you'll safely take the zone here of non-committal. But what do you think about like the 4 and 5 second and 10-second video snippets that are out there? I mean, a lot of the social media now is you can't do a 60-second or a 3-minute or a 5-minute video commercial. It's telling stories in really 10-second increments or less, right?
Yeah, when you get into the social especially, yeah, definitely you have to be quick with your message. I mean, I almost think of them as teasers in a lot of ways. I mean, you're trying to tease your content. You have it on social and it pushes you somewhere. And then you get there and maybe you have a little bit longer format. But yeah, definitely you have to gain that attention and then, keep them engaged and get them to do what you want to do, really.
So help me with this for a second, because I know that a lot of people, me included, and I remember pulling the trigger on that first Facebook Live video that I did, people don't like oftentimes to do unscripted video. But can you help share with them and the Nice Guy community, those that are listening today, tell them why they need to do unscripted video? Why is that so important today, Steve?
Well, I think sometimes, there's a real balance. There's a balance between it's the feel of the video. I think a lot of times the unscripted gives you kind of a more organic feel to it, and it's really a great way of connecting. It doesn't come off as a marketing piece per se. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important. But there's always that balance too, because I remember in this early days of, it seems like this cycle keeps on coming and going. When YouTube was first coming out, everything was, we want to make it really, really organic. We want to make it really conversational. And then you start to see more and more polished video. It seems like that's happening with a lot of these social platforms as well. Mm-hmm. So I think you see these cycles, and I think you're going to start to see a little bit more polish as we go along as well. I think there's a way to do conversational video but still have that polish. If that makes sense. It's kind of a hybrid in between the two, because I think ultimately a lot of the big companies, they still are worried about brand. So it's kind of a tiptoeing through the tulips. If you will. You got to make sure you got to make sure you have that kind of informal feel to it, but at the same light, you want to make sure you're hitting on your messaging that you want to hit on in within 10 seconds. So it sounds like people are just getting in front of a camera and just kind of just pulling it off the cuff. But if you're really smart about your messaging, you have to plan it out a little bit.
And by the way, very, very nice Tiny Tim reference that you made to Steve with tiptoeing through the tulips. That was good. Outside of marketing, can you share why video is so critical to tell your story? I mean, again, everybody uses, I guess everything is included in the word marketing, because if you're exposing your brand to the public, that is really a form of marketing itself. But, what we know is official marketing, where you're using a piece of content to promote your business. But outside of that, can you share why video is so critical to telling your story?
Well, it goes back to engagement. I mean, there's nothing more, there's nothing better than just a very, it's very connecting. Video is very engaging. It's, there have been all kinds of stats on this, video is 600% more engaging than text. The future is, 75% of all data is going to be, mobile data is going to be video, in the next 10 years or so. So, I mean, it's just that engagement that print does not offer, or any other kind of more traditional marketing. So you can't get across emotion like you can on video, with a print article. It just doesn't work. So I just think it always goes back to that engagement.
And I think that definitely is the way to go. So take me through for a moment of simple to complex production. So simple could be something as easy as just doing literally opening up, and Facebook created this live platform, and this live channel, and they don't even give you the opportunity to do it from your desktop. So it's complete. I mean, maybe they do it with some add-ons or plugins to the software, but the idea behind it was to create a very simple way to create video through live. So can you share with me some examples so the Nice Guy community just understands, okay, well, how do I do video? What's it all about? Something as simple as Facebook Live to a complex in-studio style production. So can you share some ideas on how the community can take advantage of video technology now?
Yeah, and I think, at the root of it, you have to be organized. Even if you're doing, more of these, social, like Facebook Live or whatever, Snap, whatever you're doing, you really need to be thoughtful about what you're doing. And so I really think you have to sit down, and the way we do it is, we actually do a creative brief. Any kind of messaging that we do a creative brief. And those are, you ask, questions like, what's your main message? What are you trying to get the audience to do? What's the secondary messaging you're trying to do? And you really have to think about these things, kind of put on that analytical hat on the front end. And once you do that, then, you can decide what's the best way to do that. Do I want to kind of do more of a, casual feel? Where do I want to do this? What's my background? All these little questions that maybe really support that messaging. So you have to be thoughtful on the front end, and then the creative will follow that. I think a lot of times people just say, oh, let's just get something up there, and they pull out their phone and they shoot something and throw it out there.
Right.
I think you have to be more thoughtful. Even, it comes off as being very casual, but you can't just, you have to be thoughtful about it.
Well, and I always tell everybody that that talks about video, because we do, although we don't do a lot of video as a part of our show, I always tell everybody it's almost like it's rehearsed spontaneity. It's like, okay, you got to create this environment that seems very raw and unscripted, but at the same time, just like you said, you don't want to just open up a camera and just start blabbing. There makes no sense. There's got to be some point to it, even if it's not a scripted point. There's got to be okay, I'm going from A to Z here, and here's how I'm going to get there. Even if you don't get there necessarily, you start at A, you want to get to Z, but in between there's might be a number of stops along the way that are potentially unscripted.
Yeah, it could be 20 messages too. You could have, you could have 20 small little snippets, but it's planned. You're planning your strategy around it. You have bullet points for each one of your little messages. So yeah, you're right on. I love that term you used too. Was it planned spontaneity?
Yeah, rehearse spontaneity. Yeah, exactly.
Rehearse spontaneity. I may use that.
Yeah, use it. Feel free. So Steve, take me through what the day in the life of a guy that founds a company like Tilt Motion is all about. How much time is spent in production, or maybe just spend a moment just talking about what Tilt Motion does, so my Nice Guy community has an idea of why are you somebody that would be considered an expert in video. I know you are from doing all the reading about you and following a lot of the stuff that you have on social, but share how Tilt Motion is put together and what's it all about.
Well, yeah, I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but we're a group of storytellers, and that comes from our journalism background. Everybody, all of our producers all come from a news background. We have former reporters, anchors, producers. They all come from a newsroom background. And so they've grown up with having to tell a story. They go out, they grab ask the right questions, come back with the video, turn it around, and really make it a compelling story in a very short amount of time too. And then what I did is I married that front end storytelling with some very high end post-production capabilities. So, you can take those stories and use animation, motion graphics, live action, whatever makes sense. So, and then on top of that, you embrace the technology. So I think there's a combination of things that we offer that I think separates us, I guess.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine.
I was going to say, how far beyond the production do you all go? Do you get involved with actually the promoting of the promotion itself? Do you do stuff with social, or do you stay really within the realm of production?
Well, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll do kind of a campaign, if you will. So we'll do a video, and that will be kind of the core. Maybe it's a 2-minute video, and that's accomplishing all the things you're trying to accomplish. But on top of that, we may create some, social media teases, if you will. So something that maybe goes out on Twitter and it promotes it. It teases the content and drives them to where you want to go, maybe a landing page or whatever it might be. So, you think of it as kind of a campaign instead of a video, and I think that's really important with all the social out there.
Totally agree with that for sure. What would be a typical, like a best client for you? Somebody that is a small business, big business. What's who is buying what you are selling?
Well, we have a pretty wide range. We've worked with, people in the innovation space who are just getting started. Maybe they have a fresh idea. And then we've worked all the way up to extremely large companies, the Wells Fargos or the Fords of the world. We've done work for them as well. So it's a wide range. We like to take on work that is interesting as well. It's really important. In the innovation space, we've taken ideas that are budding ideas, which is a lot of fun. And we make those ideas come alive, even sometimes before a product even exists. I mean, we can make those ideas seem like it's an existing product. So, I mean, that's really great when you're trying to socialize it or get funding for an idea.
I've seen a lot of video production incorporate, or a lot of video shoot, or I don't know what side of the game it is. I'm not as technically savvy as many that are out there, including yourself. So I'm going to sound stupid when I say these things, but it sounds like there are, or what I've seen, a lot of animation. I've seen a lot of graphics. I've seen live feed. I've seen raw. I've seen stuff that really looks very very choppy, but it's done it's not because they're unprofessional. It's actually done purposely this way, where they do it in 7 or 8 or 10 second snips where they cut from one thing to the other. Is there any formula that you have seen that works well in video?
Well, I guess I wouldn't say there's a formula per se, but there are definitely different styles for different purposes. Like we found that if you're really trying to, let's say you have a product or that you're trying to market or maybe generate funding for, we find that if it's like, we want to hit an emotional chord, maybe a live action piece would be the best way to go, because that really connects. You can really see a person, connect with a person. I always thought motion graphics works really well for showing process. Maybe you have more of a technical product that you want to highlight, because you can really show that in a very simple way. Some of these ideas are very complex, very technology based. And so the graphics are very good at kind of simplifying what you're trying to get across. And then I think animation is kind of a little bit of a motion graphic slash maybe you have some characters in there. It's great for storytelling. You can maybe show a story in an animated way of how something works, with a little bit more of a connection. So, right. I mean, it's really the way we look at it is, what are you trying to accomplish? Get back to that creative brief. What are you trying to accomplish? What are your main messages? What do you want people to do to take action? Then we go back and we say, well, what makes sense? Live action, motion graphics, animation? What's the best way to tell that story?
Yeah, a little bit. And it could be a combination of a number of different things as well. Give me a little tool that the Nice Guy community can take advantage of right now. As soon as the episode is over, they're finished listening to this and they said, hey, I really want to incorporate video. Give me a little tidbit that they could actually, a tool that they could put in place today, even without necessarily hiring your company, but just to give them a taste of how effective video could be. Is there something that you can think of?
Well, if you don't have it, I guess one of the key takeaways I would think is just, if you don't have a video strategy, you better get one. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it sounds very basic, but it is happening fast. 64% of consumers are more likely to buy a product after watching a related video.
Yeah.
I mean, that there should say that you should have a strategy, whatever it is. If you start small, that's great. Just have a strategy behind it. Maybe it's Facebook Live, whatever it is, but just kind of get your feet wet and don't be afraid of the technology.
Yeah.
I mean, video is extremely effective. It offers you better SEO. It's great on mobile. It's easy to share. Something could go viral. It's highly effective. Executives watch videos 65% more likely than, going to a website after being. So, I mean, it's really something you just can't avoid. You have to stay on top of it.
So what's the future of video? I mean, it seems like, okay, now what do we have? 3D? Do we have smell-o-vision? What's the next thing that's out there? It's like, how much more lifelike could it be? It used to be, hey, Twitter was great. You send 140 characters or less, and it was a good message. And then they said, well, you got to have a picture as a part of it. And then it was, you have to have a GIF as a part of it. And now it's video. And it's like, oh my gosh, what is going to be the next thing that's out there? Any idea?
Well, I think VR, virtual reality.
Oh, that's true.
I really don't think it's being used right now. I mean, I think it's out there, and you see ads about. You've probably seen the ads on TV, and it shows people being wowed by VR, and that's just kind of almost promoting how cool it is. But I don't think it's really being effectively used yet. So I think that's wide open. We're looking into that as well. I think that's going to be a big deal. in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Of course, virtual reality is totally going to be the next frontier for that, because it's actually taking your message or whatever that is that you're putting out there, whether it's marketing or just promo or just information about who you are and your story. And it actually is inserting the people that are watching this VR right into your story, which makes it even better, because they're now an integral part, an interactive part of what's going on. That's you make a valid point there.
No, I think too. I mean, we're looking in the VR space. Even just for promoting ourselves, we're actually gonna do a virtual reality piece where it's kind of a behind the scenes look at a shoot. I think that'd be a lot of fun. You set up the camera in the middle of a shoot, and then people could put on a headset, and then they could kind of turn around and look at what's all going on, like you're right there in a shoot.
How do you take something that is as effective and as production driven as what you guys are putting together and take it down to the level that a solopreneur, somebody that's running a business by themselves and doesn't have a huge marketing budget, how do you make that affordable to somebody like me? Because I always look at it and say, I can't afford to spend $10,000 or $15,000 or $100,000 on a video production. I might be able to spend a couple $1,000s for a marketing campaign, but beyond that, oftentimes it seems like the services of video production are just so out of my budget. Is that the reality of small business, and I just need to get over it, or is there a solution to that?
Well, I think there's ultimately, I think there are different phases of where you are in your development of your company. And I think as you go down the road, I think, it pays to, invest in video. But for those people that are just getting started, I think my advice would be to just really be thoughtful. Put on that analytical hat on the front end and decide, what am I trying to do with this? Instead of, most people try to jump right into the creative process and let's get a camera and let's get going here. But I think if you can really be thoughtful about what you're trying to accomplish in the beginning, it can be pretty effective. Video doesn't have to be extremely expensive to be effective. As you said, what was the term you used? Planned.
Rare spontaneity.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a little bit, if you can be thoughtful about that, you don't have to have the highest end production. It's all about message.
Yeah, totally right. I believe you have a free ebook called How to Win at Marketing with Video. Is that still something that's available through your website or through signing up for your newsletter?
Yeah, it's tiltmotion.com/nice guys. Actually, you can find it there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Wow. We very rarely does anybody have enough respect for us to actually give us our own little URL. So thank you. We'll make sure, Nice Guy Community, that we put a link in the show notes for the free guide. I have not had a chance to check it out, but I'm sure, based upon the information that Steve has today, that it will that'll be a very cool little download. Is it? I'm assuming is it in video, Steve?
Actually, shockingly, it's an ebook.
Oh no!
But we are.
Come on, where's the video? I was waiting for the video.
Well, it's funny. We are actually in the process of actually making that into a podcast and video as well. So,
all right, I'll let you slide.
Yeah, we just released it. You got to give me a break.
No, all good, man. Hey, listen, I've had a podcast. I think we're probably now this episode. I don't know the exact number when we come up with the exact air date, but somewhere around the taping of this, we're around episode 260. We don't have an idea of what the hell we're doing yet, and we're 2 years into this ride, so we're enjoying it. Do you have time as we wrap up just for our brief Q&A rapid fire question round?
Sure.
All right, great. All right, so here,
but I'm available.
Okay, all right. I think you'll be okay with this. I think you're going to know the answer. So, take off your founder and owner of Tilt Motion hat for a second, and leave your entrepreneur hat on, which I know is right underneath of that other hat anyway. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. I just want you to just give me your initial thought and maybe a 20-second response on each one of these. I will do my best, although I have violently failed at this every time I say this. I'm going to try not to step on anything that you say and just let you answer, but do your best to keep it under 20 seconds for each one. Are you ready to roll?
You bet.
Okay, all right. Be relatable, Steve. As an entrepreneur, what do you suck at?
Wow. As an entrepreneur, what do I suck at? I tried to do too many things. I should probably delegate more. I guess that's
good.
Short answer. Yeah.
No, that's a good answer. I think we all fall into that trap. We do too much. Be transparent. How did you pay your bills when you first got going?
Well, I think we've always had enough of a a support, from our initial clients that we haven't had to deal with that too much. We've been able to, I always joke my dad was a banker, so I always have this very fiscally conservative way of running something. So I've always had good ROI on what I do and make sure that we are able to pay our bills.
No, that's
don't grow too fast.
Don't do. Oh, that was good. Don't grow too fast. That's good. Be confident. What do you do as an entrepreneur that's as good as it gets?
Our storytelling. I would put our storytelling up against anyone, and I think our post production is exceptional as well. I mean, it's the combo platter, if you will. I just really feel strongly about that, and I think that's why we've had a lot of repeat business. I mean, it's storytelling. So it was around there at the when the caveman was around the fire, they were telling stories, and they're still doing it now on Snap, right?
So yeah, true. And I have no idea how Snapchat works. I tried, I really did. I tried for a few minutes in there. I have a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old as my kids, and they use it, and I just can't grasp it. You know why? Because nobody in my market. I don't think many people in my market use it. So for me, it's like the only time I would use it is when I communicate with my kids.
Well, my kids are my great inspiration. Whenever I see them download a new app, then I say, oh, okay, what do you got there? And then I force myself to adapt, because I just think, you got to stay on the front end of this stuff.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
I have a 17-year-old and a 21-year-old.
Okay, so totally in the same realm. They understand. Yep. They were born with an iPhone in their hand, so makes it challenging.
And I constantly try to pull it out of it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. All right. Number 4, be humble. What experts did you need to call upon to make stuff happen when it wasn't happening?
I just from a marketing point of view, I've had some, great marketing support. You have to know what you're good at and what you're bad at. And quite honestly, that's not one of my chips was, straight pure marketing. I'm a storyteller. I'm a former journalist. Those things are very natural for me. Video's always been a very natural thing, but I need a little bit of help, in marketing.
Oh, good point. Yeah, and that goes back to question 1, be relatable. What do you suck at? Trying to delegate. So sometimes when you're not good at something and you try to delegate it, it's you have a hard time because you just want to hold on to everything yourself. Be realistic. Where are you going to be in 90 days, and how far into the future do you think that you can see with your business?
I can see probably about a year ahead, realistically. I think the technology is constantly changing. I'm very happy with where we're going. I think we're on the right track. I've been to some conferences recently and, that have highlighted video, and I'm hearing things that I've known about, quite honestly, which is it's almost makes me feel good about the direction where we're going. Like, you know what? I think we got a good grip on this. In the second I think that's when I'll get laughed. So you have to make sure that you're always have an eye on the future. So
yeah, what's that expression? You want to make God laugh? Just tell him your plans, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Great. Well, you passed the 5 rounds, and you did that pretty much with the exception again of me stepping on you. You did it quickly as well. One final question. Do you have your cell phone? I think you have your cell phone somewhere near you. Can you grab it for 1 second?
Sure. Great.
Go to your picture app, and what's the last thing you took a photo of?
Oh, this is awesome. I love that question. Let me check here. I'm scared.
Sometimes it can be scary.
It's really funny too.
I always joke about this. A few months ago now, as of the airing of this, I had a dominatrix on the show who's a business consultant too, and that was the toughest question that I had to figure out. How can I gently tell her I don't want to know about your dominatrix clients? But that was the last photo she took, though.
Yeah, this is pretty funny. There's a picture. I have a picture here of when I was probably 3, and my brother was like 8, and my other brother was, like 17, and we're standing out front of our house, the 3 of us. This is dating myself a little bit, but in the early 70s, and someone had actually taken our heads from now and put it on the bodies of when we were. So I saw this. Nice. I thought, this is really interesting. So I grabbed it. And that's sitting is the last photo in my photos right now.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I see you have a good sense of humor then.
Yeah, morphed heads on little children bodies. So yeah.
And final question here. Go to your texting app. What is the last text message you sent and received?
Let's see here.
I should ask you what the last video that you took was. That would have probably been more appropriate question for you.
I was complaining about the fact that my local hockey team was talking with my two brothers who was in the pictures we had just mentioned. I was telling them how disgruntled I was about the outcome of the NHL game that I watched last night, and then my brother replies, "You are in my thoughts and prayers," and I said, "Sorry for your loss." So.
That's good. A good sense of humor from a sporting family. Your brothers will always razz you. So were you the youngest of three?
Youngest of seven.
Oh, wow. Youngest of seven. Wow. And how much older is your oldest? Is 17 years, or is there somebody that's even older?
14 years, so that's where the book ends. I'm
boy.
the youngest, and he's the oldest at 14 years older.
That is incredible. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I will make sure that we get all of your information in the show notes today. Any special links or anything we'll put in there as well, including the link to the Nice Guys special. Let's see, what did we call it? Hold on a second, I can find it here in my notes. It was How to Win at Marketing with Video, and that'll be in the show notes as well. tiltmotion.com/nice guys. Thanks, Steve, for doing that.
No problem. No problem at all.
A Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Steve Heimerman from Tilt Motion for being a part of the show today, and we'll make sure that we put all of his information in the show notes. And that is it. So, Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. The Nice Guys on Business are publishing 5 episodes a week? Isn't that against the Geneva Convention?